That's expired.
No,
Expired.
I don't want to let it go.
What?
One, top five. Oh, I'm on board today.
Let's call this meeting to order. City of North Kansas City, Missouri, regular council meeting, May 1, 2018. Can we have a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance.
Comments from the public? Hearing none. Consent agenda.
I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, number 7.
Resolution of intent, reimbursement of certain Spine Road expenses using future issuance of tax-exempt bonds. Resolution number 18-024.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. For this item, I'd like to call on the city's financial advisor, Matt Webster of George K. Baum.
Good evening, mayors, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen. This item on the agenda before you allows future bond issuances related to the One North project to be used to repay monies owed to the city by the developer for part of the Spine Road project. These expenses were originally approved back in 2017, and now as we draw closer to the time at which the developer expects to move forward with the transaction, we put this on the agenda to allow the repayment to the city. It's merely a matter of sort of ministerial convenience that it's here, but it allows this money to be paid from a future bond issuance. The Treasury Department of the United States requires issuers of bonds, in this case it would be the Industrial Development Authority, which again was created by the City Council last year, requires issuers to notice their official intent, and this can be done by a resolution of the City Council, which is why it's on your agenda. As we move through this process, we expect to be back before the City Council in July and August with the actual details of the bond issues. The city is not obligated to do anything until it has considered those steps separately and you are satisfied that whatever issues might arise have been addressed. So again, this is not binding the city to anything. It's just allowing the future monies to be used to repay the city should you choose to do that. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
The city,
Yep, go ahead.
is it me? Okay. The city is not responsible for any of this as far as these are going to be future bonds that will be paying us back for the spine.
Right, and in fact, the city will not be the issuer of the debt. The Industrial Development Authority, which is a separate political subdivision under state law, would be the issuer of any of the debt. So the city would be the recipient of the money. The city would not be obligated to repay any of the money.
Okay, thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Number 8.
Funding agreement with Rain and Companies, City View Phase 2.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. Rain & Company is the developer of the multifamily components of the Northgate development. Has until August 23rd of this year to complete City View Phase 2 according to the master development agreement that we have for the project. Rain & Companies is requesting an extension of that deadline and a reduction in the number of residential units that have been agreed upon and approved, as stated in the letter from Rain & Companies that we provided to you in your packet. To processing these requests will require a number of actions over a period of months by the Tax Increment Financing Commission, the TIF Commission, the Planning Commission, and the City Council. It will also require that the city retain third-party legal and financial advisor assistance, Mr. Webster. So therefore, presented for council consideration tonight is a funding agreement with Rain and Companies to ensure that our third-party costs to process this request going forward will be covered. We're not making any recommendations tonight, other than to approve the funding agreement. Those will come at a later time after we've had a chance to analyze the repercussions of what's being proposed. This is simply to allow us to recover our third-party costs going forward. Mr. Rainin, Michael Rainin of Rain and Companies is here if you have any questions for him.
Go ahead.
We're doing a reduction in the amount of units on this one. And and I was looking in the letter to see if there was an explanation of why we're not doing the amount of units that were planned before, or what the reason is for the reduction. Just curious about that.
Mr. Rainin?
Well, actually, on the overall project, we originally planned it for 610 units. We've built, I continue to own 550 some odd units, and we're going to add another 144 units. So we'll go to 690 and some change from 610, which was originally planned.
Okay.
But this second phase was planned to be more dense at one point and to provide a higher rise unit, which doesn't make market sense at this particular point in time, and hence the shift.
Okay, thank you.
Just a follow-up question for that. So you've kind of worked on this the last few years, and we saw a model, I think, that you were describing that had a higher density, maybe with parking or something underneath. And then I heard some, talk about maybe single-family residences. And so I'm just trying to figure out kind of what's rumor and what's speculation and what's real as far as what you're aiming for and where you're going.
Some time ago, I was approached by some people that wanted to develop single-family there, and so I brought that to staff, and they said that the master plan required multifamily, so that idea was eliminated. And so we're following through with phase 2, and we've got a design which we think will fit the market well and blend with phase 1, and so we're moving forward.
Okay, thank you. We'll talk about that later, I guess.
Yes.
What your designs are, okay.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 9.
Ordinance to increase sanitary sewer pollutant surcharges. Bill number 7289, ordinance number 9086.
Eric.
Yes, sir. Thank you. At your last meeting on April 17th, the City Council conducted a public hearing on a proposed increase to the city's sanitary sewer pollutant surcharge fees, and instructed city staff to bring forward an ordinance establishing certain changes to the city's sewer pollutant surcharge fees. So before you is an ordinance which does increase those fees for both biochemical oxygen demand from 20.6 cents to to 32.6 cents, and for suspended solids from 12.6 cents to 17.3 cents.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance establishing new sewer surcharge rates by amending subparagraph 3 of paragraph B of section 13.08.020 sewer charges of the Code of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
I move that bill number 7289 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9086.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
An ordinance establishing new sewer surcharge rates by amending subparagraph 3 of paragraph B of section 13.08.020 sewer charges of the Code of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, number 10.
North Kansas City YMCA Community Center renovation project change order number 6, first floor group fitness instructor platform edge redesign.
Eric? Thank you, sir. I'll call on the city's building official, David Harris.
Mayor and City Council, the instructor platform for the Group Fitness Center for the new YMCA project, the platform is coming apart. So PGAV, the architects for this project, is proposing a solution, which is to add a metal edge to the platform. So therefore, we are requesting $637.30 be approved for this change.
Is this in that downstairs big room that we had the grand opening in?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 11.
North Kansas City Parks and Recreation Center change order number 10, deduction, site signage and grass seeding.
Eric?
Thank you, sir. I'll call on Mr. Harris.
This request is for a change order for actually to reduce the contract originally granted to Larison Construction Company. Larison Construction Company's contract included $3,000 for site signage and $3,578 for grass plantings. We decided that, along with the park department, it would be more beneficial if the park department would incorporate those items into their project. So that would result in a reduction of Larison Construction Company's original contract in the amount of $6,578.
So the request for a sign would come to us from the Parks and Rec Board in the future? Is that how this would work?
Yes, I mean, they would intend to use that funding themselves for a sign of their design. So
Okay, and does that sign have to come to us for approval?
I don't know that it does. We would need to make sure it met with our sign ordinance, but I think that could be an administrative approval.
Okay, we'll make sure it's not ugly. It's gonna be pretty, too.
I'll make sure they know that.
Okay, thank you.
Follow-up question on that is, I know at one time they had talked about using like a billboard sign for the programs and stuff like that. Is that something, do you know that they're still wanting to do, or?
This district actually doesn't allow billboard signs.
I didn't think it did. I was just curious. Okay.
Okay.
I'll move to approve it if there's no other questions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving right along. 12.
Approving accounts due and payable by the city through April 27th, 2018. Bill number 7291, ordinance number 9088.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Uncoordinated.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through April 27th, 2018.
I move that bill number 7291 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9088.
Second.
Call roll.
Got it.
Councilmember Pearman,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong.
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through April 27th, 2018.
Mr. Eric?
Thank you, sir. A couple of small things. As the city clerk has previously notified you, the MML conference will open for registration on May 7th, and that will also be the first day that hotel rooms can be reserved. Hotel rooms can go fast. I know some of you have already responded to the city clerk indicating that you're going to attend, but if you believe you are, if you could let her know, that's not a deadline, but it could be a deadline as far as finding a good hotel room. Again, that's September 16th to 19th in Branson. And if you could just let the city clerk know if you have and if you intend to go. Also, just want to let you know that the Assistant City Administrator, Kim Nakahoto, and I will be at the Missouri City Management Association Conference. We'll be leaving tomorrow afternoon, and we'll be there until late Friday. That's in Lake Ozark. Want to let you know that Chief Beamer and Major Freeman and I had a meeting with Chad Evans, the Activities Director of North Kansas City High School, and next year he'll be moving into the administration of the district as an executive director, and Rob McLeese, who's the Director of Safety and Security for the school district. We talked about a couple of things. One thing that we talked about, we had notified them after we had learned that the DAG Park is being closed during certain hours. We wanted to let them know that. We want to let them know of the reasons that have been stated for why that's happening. I don't know that we came up with any solutions. The one thing that they did express to us, just to let everyone know, that seniors will be finishing up at the end of this week. That might make some difference in terms of kids who are off campus at certain times. But of course, the issue largely is that it's difficult for the school district to do a whole lot as far as controlling the high school students who are off campus, and of course it is an open campus. Chief, did you have any other thoughts about that particular topic that we spoke about?
Mayor, was there any comments in regard to the security issues for substitute teachers that we had talked about a while back, or is that a different topic entirely?
We did not try to broach that topic in this meeting since we were focused on a couple of other issues. Sometime this summer, I'll be talking with Mr. McLeese, who is the Director of Security and Safety, and we're going to have that conversation.
Thank you, sir.
I do have a question about the open campus. You know, I went to school in Northtown. It was an open lunch. It wasn't an open campus, just any time you wanted to walk off the campus, but it is now, I guess.
May I?
Please.
The situation in the school is that they have class time during the day that is not scheduled to a specific classroom. They call it advisory period. During advisory period, if students don't have a specific place to go, a meeting to attend, something like that, then they are not obligated to be in any specific place at that time. One of the challenges that the school has is that a student can say, I'm going from the main building over to Norclay. I'm going to the library. I'm going to the Methodist Church. They leave campus and don't necessarily make it to their destination without making a trip down your block or 23rd Avenue or something like that. But advisory is a period of time during the day where there is limited accountability for the students, is probably the best way to say it. Now, going into the end of the school year, there will be no more advisory periods because of testing that's coming up between now and the end of the year. Another challenge that the school has got is that there are people that hang around the school that are not students. Now, granted, in your neighborhood, I get it that most of the people you see going by are maybe taking the scenic route to Norclay. But there's a problem with people hanging around this school, interacting with students because of the open campus environment. Quite frankly, we need to get the new building finished and we need to get the campus closed for a number of reasons. But I think that is one of the challenges that we're going to fight between now and the time that we can get that campus closed.
Isn't it, in this day and age, isn't it, to me, very dangerous for them students to be out and about? It's dangerous for a lot of them to be in the school, you know, because of the shootings. But I have asked the school before, years ago, when they came to a meeting, don't they have any control at all? I mean, they dress like they want. They smoke on the campus. I seen that yesterday. Usually they cross the street and get on the library steps and smoke. And I've seen that. You try to go into the library early, because I was going to work the book sales while I was there early. they're sitting there cussing and really vulgar language, smoking, making out. I mean, there's just no control. I don't guess they have a dress code anymore,
No, sir, they don't.
because they'd have to be naked to be any different than they are now.
I recognize your frustrations. However, we have to be cautious as a police department in how we approach some of these issues, because some of the things that frustrate you are not a crime.
No, that's true.
And there is a age disparity there that when I was a kid, the younger, we were the younger generation and people didn't like the way we were. You and I are close enough in age that now, the youngsters seem to be a problem as well. But at the same time, what the school can do is one thing. I believe that they have limited options in today's world. We have limited options as well at the police department. If they cross the line and commit a criminal act, then that's a different situation. But some of the things that are offensive to citizens are not necessarily something that is a police action.
No, but I still think it's the open campus is just too open in North Kansas City. I think everybody agrees with it, but nobody seems on the school end wants to do anything about it. The park department had to close Dag Park to be able to work on it because the high school kids are destroying it. You get 4 kids on a round swing over there that go over 140 pounds each. That park was made for little kids. And the park department had to close it for the last 4 or 5 days to keep them out. The school, all they had to do get on speaker and say, high school students have no business being in Dag Park. On the equipment, anyway. It's not made for them. But I know I'm just preaching to the choir here, but I feel better.
Isn't the plan to make it a closed campus
That was my question.
once the new build-out happens?
Don't know if that decision has been finally made.
Okay.
I do know it's under consideration, and
Yeah,
I
I've
think
heard
strong,
that.
I think strong consideration.
Yeah, okay.
Say something. I too saw the memo closing Dag Park, and I took exception to it for a few reasons, which I had shared with Eric. The memo itself said there's an identifiable group of students who they have regularly run out of the park. They're identifiable. That should be a little bit easier to deal with. Perfect example, I was driving to work at 8 o'clock yesterday morning when it was beautiful. I saw 4 families during the daytime with their little kids in strollers who couldn't get into Dag Park because of a handful of kids. I don't know that it sets a really good message to our current residents who have kids who are high school age and will be high school age, or to future residents if we kind of chastise all kids for the behavior of some. And I too have my opinions in regard to how I'd let my kids dress or not dress when they were coming up, but those are opinions. And we can't legislate that, obviously. So I'm just of the opinion that not every high school kid in North Kansas City is misbehaving to the extent that we need to start shutting things down and reacting in that way.
Oh, I agree that it's the small minority of kids doing that. We've had the kids, my wife and I, before, be walking by and one of them's cussing, and the other say, hey, knock it off, there's other people here. Good kids. But we can't let them destroy the park.
No, but as citizens, we can also, I've had kids do the same thing. I lived right behind the high school when I lived on Fayette. Took it upon myself, and never did I have a problem with it. When kids would walk through our yard, which I allowed them to do, as long as they did not smoke, they did not drop things, and they didn't cuss. And, I think if you approach kids as a responsible citizen, and we all have to take care of these things. I have yet to find one that's gotten in my face or cursed at me. Been a little surprised that I took the time to say it's inappropriate to talk like that. There are kids next door, but not any of them reacted in any way that was threatening or bothersome to me. And they ceased and desist at least there, or left the area and did it someplace else.
Basically, it's a problem.
I've approached this before, and I don't know whether it's a good idea or not. Do you think that if we would try to get a meeting between the city council and some of the school board members, we might, at least, they would understand our frustration.
I'd be happy to arrange that for you, sir, if you'd like me to.
Isn't there a committee that you guys have? There's people on it that go up there
Yeah, we used to meet
on a
on
regular.
a quarterly basis, yeah.
We haven't had one of
No,
those meetings.
It's been several years now.
Well, we
There
need to put
were
one, yeah.
meetings that were held every few months of a
Yeah.
few council members and a few board members to discuss matters of mutual interest and concern. We haven't done that in a while, and if you like, I could work with
Yeah,
the
that's
school
probably a
district
good idea.
Good
administration.
idea. Yeah.
There's been some changeover of people and roles at the board,
Yeah.
school board also, so
New
that would
school
be
board
good to kind
member,
of get,
yeah.
get up to speed on that.
I can understand, the park's frustration with the kids, and they've got this brand-new park. They don't want the equipment torn up. I was talking to Eric the other day and said, can't we do some sort of an ordinance, say a weight limit or height limit or something like that to get on the equipment? But then the question is, how do you enforce it, is the issue as well. So I am in a total agreement with the mayor's idea to get together with the school board. I mean, sure, we got some great students in North Kansas City High School, and just like everywhere else, and then there's some bad seeds. And, I just think we can't let these, the school district or school board or the school in general dictate how we're going to run our city. I mean, I feel bad for parents that, have little kids that want to take them to the park and they can't do it during the day. I'm not faulting the Parks Department for that. They had to, take action, so. But I'd be in favor of a meeting as well. That's a good idea, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I agree with Councilmember Pierce's comments that I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so, or whatever that statement is. So, if there's a few, kids who are causing trouble, then let's work with the school board and try to get that under control as opposed to taking drastic action like, shutting places down. So I think a partnership would be good. Would be
Of course,
helpful for all of us.
those are Parks Board decisions.
Yeah,
as you
right,
know.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's not for us to decide, but,
Well, actually, they shut it down for maintenance.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Well, I have another potential item then for your joint meeting with the school district that I'm going to work on setting up. Another topic that we discussed at the meeting that the Chief and Major Freeman and I had with the school district representatives regarded stadium noise. As you know, the high school stadium, of course, is used for the high school football games. But in addition, the school district does rent it out on Saturdays. That's used for children's football. It's also, there's a semi-pro league, which also plays there. And we have periodically over the years had complaints about the noise that's coming from the stadium. And we have no formal agreement with the school district regarding the level of noise, but there is an informal sort of understanding of the volume level at which the public address system is supposed to be set. And we discussed that, and they assured us that it remains set at that volume. Now, whether the announcer for some of those activities might be speaking particularly loudly, no matter what the volume is set at the PA, is another question, and that might be part of the issue. Part of the issue might also be the kind of music displayed, which might make a difference in terms of how it sounds and volume. So again, they understood the concern. They indicated they'd again, make clear that they had heard this complaint and then urged the folks who use it to keep the volume at a reasonable level. I did have an idea, and I don't know if it's an idea that you'd have any interest in, kind of a modest proposal, but one question I did ask during the meeting was the amount of revenue that they collect from this, which I think is the main impetus for them doing it. He gave me a number. I don't want to list that number because I caught him by surprise, and I don't know that the number he gave me was an exact one or correct, but it wasn't a huge amount of money. So I said, I have no idea if the council has any interest in this, but if the city paid you not to have events there on Saturday, would that be something that you might consider? And he wasn't willing to provide an answer, of course, at that time, but that might be an idea. If that idea appealed to you, that might be a future topic of discussion.
I don't think that's a particularly great idea. It's an idea, and I'm not really nixing it, but this has been a perennial problem for ever since I've been on the council. There's from time to time people that live on the avenues complain about the noise in that general direction down there. I think it's something that needs to be constantly reinforced in the school board's brain if nothing is done, or maybe it's done a little bit quieter, and then a few months later or the next season, it starts right back up again. So there's been no teeth that the city has been able to apply, but I don't think we should be paying anybody to keep quiet down there. Do you?
No, I don't think we need, and I emailed Eric in regard to this because I was sitting in the backyard and visiting with our neighbors, and suddenly we could no longer visit. And when I lived on Fayette, I spent every Saturday and Sunday walking over to where the announcer is, myself walking up the steps, turning down the volume myself, sometimes heatedly with the parents there. It's not the kids, and it's not even the semi-pro people. I'm all for the kids being able to play football there. The high school plays football there. You can have Staley and North Kansas City there, and there's 1 million people there, cars everywhere. And when I lived on Fayette, we still couldn't hear the noise. It's the announcers, it's the parents who run these programs, and it's a lack of oversight.
Right.
Those announcers think they work for ESPN. I could hear them on Burlington on Saturday, and this is just the beginning. It'll start at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning and go all the way till late at night on Sunday, and it's ridiculous. And, you know, I'm no longer there to play neighborhood patrol, but Randy across the street now has to do it. But it's crazy to have to, like, throw on clothes at 8 o'clock every Saturday morning and every team that came out in order to enjoy my home. And we really need to not just have them do lip service to this anymore, because that's what's been going on for years.
That's right.
We need to know who the person's in charge of, and we need to be able to contact them, because this is an issue with my ward and many wards. I mean, you could hear it on Burlington, probably all the wards hears it.
Yeah,
And nobody's really done anything specific. I called the school board myself for years and years and years, and I think we've just all kind of had it up here.
Sometimes you can hear it up on 32nd Street.
Yeah.
32nd.
That's bad if you can hear it.
What?
Oh, I know this last weekend, they were out there till it was 10:30 at least.
Yeah.
Payback.
I mean, it's late too. Do we not have any sort of a noise ordinance that would prohibit this? Or, I mean, it's a general nuisance at least. Is there not?
I asked about a noise ordinance once, and they said they had no noise ordinance in North Kansas City.
There is no ordinance specifically for noise that's related to a decibel level or something like that. It could be, we could have a disturbing the peace situation, we could have a disorderly conduct situation. At that point in time, though, if we go down, if we arrest somebody for disorderly conduct because they are annoying, interfering, offending other people, and it ends up in court, I'd have to consult with the city prosecutor on that, but who am I arresting? The announcer?
So could
The person that authorized the event? I mean, those are the kind of things that, if we're going to put this case into municipal court, I need to do some research to figure out who we're going to take to jail.
Wouldn't there
Can we
just be the presence of a police officer coming in and saying, a little noisy in here, could you guys?
We've done that.
They have done that.
You know, we could go on with this for another hour, but I think the best thing for us to do is to meet with the school board and lay all this stuff out and, quit fooling around. I mean, let's get to the heart of the problem.
Could we consider an ordinance, maybe that limits at certain times on weekends, late nights after 9, 10, whatever, just to try to mitigate this in some way?
We'll take a look at that, sir.
I'd like to just add one idea, just a brainstorming idea. Could we purchase equipment for them that's limited in the decibel range
No.
and ask them to use it? You're saying no?
No, because it's already established up there. And it's easy to use. I've turned it down myself 1,000 times. But what we need, I think, is
Can we
we need a
change it?
go-to person. We need to know, who do we call? Who's responsible? Who doesn't live in our community on Saturday, rather than us walk up there. I'd much rather make a phone call and say, okay, you guys said you keep it down. These people don't live in our neighborhood. The families who come here and bring their kids don't live in our neighborhood. So they don't really care that we can't enjoy our neighborhood. So we need a go-to person, not an entire board. It'll just make it crazy. We need to know who is in charge of this. That's been the problem, is having too many people that you get sent to when you make these phone calls and nothing being done about it.
I think we have to go through the board to find this person.
I know, but then we need to find a person.
Just real quick, I'm like, Rita said, it's not the kids or even the big players. I don't even hear them.
Nope.
It's just the announcer we hear. And the youth football, when it starts, Rita, and we're talking about 12 hours a day. It's almost like Chinese torture.
It is. It is.
After a while. And it's nothing against the kids. You don't hear the game. And, a game can be played without an announcer, too.
Does that wake you from your nap?
Yeah. It drives me off my deck, I can tell you that.
The adults in charge say they have to have the music loud and the announcers loud to motivate the children.
Yeah.
I believe that's a
Yeah.
motivate the adults issue, not a motivate the
I don't
kids
believe
issue.
that at all, yeah.
Council has a lot of opinions on this topic.
I thought
Moving
you
right
would.
along.
I will communicate these further comments tonight to the school district administration and work on setting up the meeting that we've spoken about.
And I think they should be told, it's not the high school games. And that's been going on for 100 years. We expect that.
Well, in the band, we hear the band even in my
Yeah,
neighborhood.
but not very loud.
No, well, loud
But
enough that
it's
I
the
can hear
people
it.
they rent to that's 12 hours a day that's just too much.
No respect.
I understand.
Moving
That's all I
right
have, sir.
along.
Thank you.
That was enough.
I've done enough. Thank you.
You've done enough, Eric. You've done
Hornet's nest.
You want the YMCA report?
Yes, so the YMCA financial report is in your packets. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Okay, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I just have a couple things. One, just a reminder that North Kansas City Pet Licensing Day is this Saturday from 2 to 4, right? Is that right? Just want to double check. Okay. 2 to 4 this Saturday, Pet Licensing Day. And then also our citywide garage sale is on May 19th. Those are my two topics for today. Thank you.
In regard to the pet licensing, I take my dog up every year. It's going to be warm again, and I don't know if it's possible because I don't know what equipment we have, but it'd be really nice if there would be a way to have a couple troughs out there for the animals because they are dying out there, and a lot of people remember to bring water. I bring several bottles because you have to wait in line. So if they put out a couple of troughs, not right next to each other, so there's no squabbling. If that's possible, I think it'd be a really good thing, and everybody in line suggested it, kind of said, isn't there water? So
We'll work on that.
I'll direct this to Elizabeth. I was approached by a individual who was complaining about the ladies' restroom at the side of the Mackin, and apparently it wouldn't flush. So I emailed Kelly, and she gave me a nice answer in a way. She said, well, you've got to push the button hard. But that's a poor answer when you stop and think about it. If that's the truth, you should probably put a sign up down there or indicate some way that it gets done. And then a man came out of the men's room shaking his hands and wiping his hands on his pants, and he said, well, there's no towels in there. Well, Kelly said, well, we don't use towels anymore. We use an air dryer. So I'm thinking, one, either the air dryer, they don't work very well because whenever I use one, you're still kind of, unless you're there for a long time and keep pushing it, it's either that or that air dryer wasn't working. So can you put your mind together to see if you can figure out a way that, she may have had some complaints on that before if she's telling me you got to push the button hard.
We have had complaints before, and we've had the plumber out.
Liz? Up on the microphone.
We have had complaints before. I've been in there, and sometimes you just have to wait a while, and then it flushes. But the men's restroom, I can't tell you anything about, but we have not had paper towels. We just don't have them.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I don't care what you have down there as long as what you have is working.
But we've had the plumbers out several times, and I will bring it to Kelly's attention again.
Yeah, well, her comment.
Was this a recent complaint?
Yeah, it was just like a couple days ago.
I thought you was going to say complaining about children coming in with their
No,
cleats.
no, it was the
and-
fact that her comment was you've got to push the button hard.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to tell people that unless you put a sign up, please push the button.
I will tell her that.
Okay, well,
And, it's also, it's really being used a lot because now that they're playing soccer, they no longer go to the bathroom with the wicks. They want to come in our facility. And I don't know whether that has any bearing on it or not, but I sure will address it with Kelly.
thank you, Elizabeth, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I am through.
Is that all you got?
I just got a couple of things too. Just want to remind people about the North Kansas City Farmers Market starting this Friday. So if you can get out and support our farmers market, that would be great. Got some new vendors coming, so we want to show them some North Kansas City hospitality. The only other thing I'll bring up is that I enjoyed meeting with Valerie and Councilmember Pearman and DeLong last night. We spoke at the Missouri MDHC public hearing and about the Galley Lofts apartment project and voiced our support for that. So hopefully that'll go through. That's it.
I'd just like to thank Public Works for getting the sewer problem fixed at the new Parks Department building, and at least we hope it is. That took a while for some reason, but appreciate that. And I won't be here next meeting. I'll be in Ireland. So I'll have a pint for you, all of you. So.
Excellent.
I really don't have hardly anything. I just reiterate that the licensing thing, I don't think they mentioned, it is Saturday, May 5th, or as they say, south of the border, Cinco de Mayo. And it's going to be from 2 to 4 p.m. at City Hall. And the animal vaccinations at that time also.
Just wanted to comment, if you haven't had a chance, just drive around the city. This time of year is so lovely. The city's finally waking up. All the flowers, the trees and everything. It's just a gorgeous time of the year. That's all I have.
Got nothing.
What?
Got a lot of things.
I think I said my piece in regard to the loud noise from the football stadium in the league, so I'm good.
My turn. It sounds like we're hard to get along with. I just wanted to bring up, May the 27th of this year, the Methodist Church over here is going to be closing down. And they are going, after the service on Sunday, May 27th, they're going to have apparently a dinner or something down at iWorks. And apparently everybody's invited, but if you want to go, Crystal said, if you notify her, she can convey the information to them. And other than that, I'm done.
One thing I forgot, congratulations to new Battalion Chief Stone King. Stand up there.
Congratulations. Speech. That's great.
Number 16.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city councilor to be held on this date on a litigation matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statutes, subsection 610.0211.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.